Girls love Beyonce. Girls love to fuck with your conscience. Girls hate when niggas go.
What's poppin'? It's your girl Custom Zai back with another video, and today we're about to try something different. So I'm going to start a series called Artist Talk. I recently just watched the video where this girl was like giving advice on how she like grew on YouTube. And she was saying how like when you first starting out, a lot of YouTubers are like, oh, find your niche, which is like important to an extent, but you don't want to box yourself in. And the most important thing above all is to be authentic, so that the people who watch you, they watch you for a reason. Like, she was saying how like if you grow as a person or you change like what you want to make videos about or whatever, everybody who came for that one specific reason that you started out with are going to leave. Me personally, that doesn't apply, because I know like art is my life. I'm not finna change art. Like, it's always gonna be art. So that's why I'm calling it Artist Talk. But it is important to incorporate like me as a person with the art, because that's just always gonna happen. So with that being said, and it's like a nice little vibe to it too, because y'all could probably hear the rain on my window. I live like high downtown, so yeah, nice vibe. Anyway, with that being said, so I am going to do artist talks where basically from an artist perspective, I'm just going to talk about a range of things that very much apply to just being a person in general, like being alive. It don't have nothing to do with just being an artist, but it does still relate to art, because like I said, art is my life. I am an artist. So yeah, today we are going to be talking about mental health. And the reason I chose to talk about this is because it's always on my mind. I always feel like mental health is like a big part of, I don't know, something that I constantly like think about or whatever. My personal mental health, yeah. So, and then also, I just feel like mental health is kind of, it's kind of trending in this generation, low-key. And just like certain viewpoints of it are trending. I feel like a lot of people in this generation are depressed, or they say that they're depressed, or they feel that they're depressed, they're down, they're suicidal. And that is not to say that, like, you know, yeah, like that's it. That's the statement, period. A lot of people in this generation are struggling and they feel really down. And I don't know if that's like new, because nothing is new under the sun, actually. So I know for a fact it's not new. It only seems like it's trending per se, or like, oh, we're just so sad. This generation is just so sad because now we have stuff like this. We have all of these different outlets for it to be broadcasted how you feel. And so often that is sad. And that's the human experience altogether. One thing that I definitely want to touch on is the fact that older adults, like I said, they act like it is just a thing of this generation. Like, oh, this generation is so sad. Everybody wants to kill themselves. I'm pretty sure y'all was pretty fucked up too back in the day. Y'all was probably crying sometimes. Y'all probably didn't have good days. Y'all probably would rather be somewhere else than this earth. So, it's a lack of empathy. That's what it is. And that's often what happens with, and I'm not just going to say black parents, but parents in general, when they have conversations regarding mental health with their children, they don't approach it with empathy. And that's exactly where they mess up. They approach it as like oh, ain't nothing wrong with you, or why do you feel that way? Like, you're weird for feeling that way. Like, why do all y'all feel that way? And well, next time you feel like, you better tell me. Like, no, that's not the way you should approach the situation at all. You should approach it as if you are back at their age, going through the things that you know you go through at that age, and you understand how it feels. At least consider that before giving your opinion on how you feel about why they feel like that. Because obviously, as a parent or just as a person in general, a loved one of someone who is going through a bad stage of mental health, of course you're gonna approach a situation and feel like, oh, like, of course you're not gonna want them to feel like that. Of course you're gonna feel like negatively about it because you don't want the person you love to feel like that. But that's not the important part of the conversation. The important part is to have empathy, to understand that yes, they feel like that. You're acknowledging that they feel like that. They're allowed to feel like that. So what's next is, how can you help? And how can you kind of relate? How can you bring yourself down to their level to understand what they're saying, how they're feeling, and then from there you might give them advice on how you handled it when you were in their situation. But I just feel like that would be a better method for parents when it comes to the conversation of mental health with their children, rather than looking at it from, like I said, their own perspective. Of course you have your feelings towards why your loved one is feeling down, but that's not the important part of the conversation. We're talking about our feelings, the sad kids' feelings, not the parents. But yeah, that's one point I want to make. But also, me personally, I feel like self-diagnosis is a thing. I know that a lot of people who like actually go to the doctor, and they have doctors who have degrees for, like psychology and whatever other certification you need to diagnose somebody with a mental illness would have. They feel like, oh, well, if you're just claiming that you're bipolar, you have bipolar depression, but you've never went to the doctor to get that confirmed, that's not, like, that's invalid. Me personally, I don't think that's invalid. I wouldn't use like technical terms to say like what that person has, because they didn't get professional like diagnosis. But as far as how they're feeling and how it might relate to the technical term, that's valid. Like, how are you going to tell somebody how they feel just because they didn't go to the doctor? If I see my leg snap in half, I don't need to go to the doctor to say my leg is broke. So that's the same thing with like, mental health and how people are feeling. If somebody is saying that they're feeling down, they're feeling depressed, they feel like they might have bipolar depression because one second they good, the next second they want to die, it might, like, that's valid. They can very much say that without going to a doctor to have them tell them that, because that's how they feel. That's what they're going through. That's how they feel. And then my last major point that I really just wanted to talk about in regards to mental health is how it relates back to me being an artist. So with me, how I've said like multiple times in many videos on my channel, I talk about how like my main root of inspiration comes from emotions, rather they're my own or from other people, other stories that I've heard. And but most of my work emulates emotions, sentiments, things, stories, expressions. That's the whole point of my art. That's often what I do. That's often the theme. That's what it all comes from. It comes from the heart. So what I can't stand is when people like see a piece and they automatically think like, oh, like, are you they'll see something like this and be like, are you gay? Like, because it's two female figures hugging each other, are you gay? Or, you know, like, do you know Sada Baby for real? That's your brother? Like, no. It's something that I wanted to paint. It's something that I've heard before, that I've seen before, that I'm translating and reflecting. That's all. It doesn't necessarily mean that it relates straight back to me. It doesn't mean that that's me in the picture. It don't mean none of that. It just means that it's something that I wanted to tell a story about. I just wanted to tell a story about it. Sometimes I think of myself as a narrator, but I'm an illustrator, and that's literally what illustrators do. They tell stories visually. So yeah, if you see an artist whose work speaks to you, it's speaking to you. It could be speaking to you from so many different perspectives. Like, it could be speaking to you for so many different reasons, from so many different places. Like, it's not always just like a, you know, clear-cut answer to the meaning behind art. So yeah, I just feel like art is so deep and it has so many layers to it. So like, it really bothers me when people try to box it into one meaning, or just any meaning at all. Sometimes it doesn't have a meaning. Sometimes it's literally just expression. But art is an expression, like, unless it's like commercial. But even people can make designs and the motifs will literally have an expression. Like, it's a reason why they made them. So either way, I just feel like whenever you're looking at a piece, it's always important to step back. Whenever you're talking to somebody about mental health, it's always important to step back and look at it with empathy first, and then ask questions, understand, get to know whatever it is that you're analyzing. Never assume, never just make your own narrative. And you can, you definitely can, like with art and with people, but is it right? No, it's not right. But that's just how you feel. Everybody's entitled to feel how they feel, and that's my little 2 cents on mental health. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this little artist talk. This is very different for me. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna do like at least once a week, just the artist talk, sit down and talk with y'all about whatever's on my mind and whatever I feel like my audience might relate to. So yeah, and with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one.